jacket off because it's fucking hot. Fishman Island as an arc, supposed to be my favorite arc. Not just because of the pacing, but I think the Fishman Island arc, maybe I'll just like give it a read from start to finish again, but it's not that good. It is the most like political arc. It's the most about racism arc that's out there. It was not as good because Hody is awful. I don't think Hody is a good antagonist, and he's still good in comparison to some of the other antagonists that we've seen. For example, he's still better than Thriller Bark's antagonist, right? Gecko Moria, who is unfucking bearable and awful to watch. Fisher Tiger is an incredible character. Unfortunately, he's gone after half of the recaps. My favorite parts of the Fishman Island arc were the history of Fishman Island. Like, anytime they went and did a flashback, the lore drops were mint. They could have just done a lore drop. But it seemed like they wanted to do lore drops, which were really good, and then power showcases, which were not that good. The lore is great. Fishman Island's so good, though. Didn't you love it how Sanji getting a nosebleed was a legitimate plot point and was taken very seriously? Yeah, I fucking hated that. That was unacceptable. That was unimaginable. That was cruel and unusual punishment. That's exactly what I'm saying. Even in the last fight sequence, anytime the camera pans away from the main battle, which is supposed to be between Luffy and Hody, I literally fucking hated it. It was like, I hated the captains of the enemy squad. I hated the one that went invisible. He's so dumb and so goofy. He's constantly getting owned. I didn't like the comedic, I didn't like the comedic timing of that. I hated all of the captains, with the exception of the drunk one, the octopus drunk one, who immediately got fucking owned. He was such a cool enemy. And then Zoro destroys him and you know, like, what the fuck? Why didn't you just show us like something more from an actual good enemy? That part was really frustrating. Yeah, Zoro killed another minority, literally racist. My king. Yeah, the Fishman pirates were, they were just fucking awful. Like, they were not good. Some of their captains were fine, but overall it was just mid. And Hody was mid. It was not great overall. But from a political analysis perspective, there is also one aspect of it that I found to be kind of weird. Intentions. Now, this is supposed to be this like massive analogy to the civil rights movement and racism and all of that. And then you finally recognize why Hody is doing what he's doing. And you're like, oh, what could be the motivation? Is it, you know, scarring from living under this like oppressive construct? And ultimately, it's just like, no, he's just empty. His motivation is nothing. His motivation is that he is a fishman supremacist. And I hated that. I hated that. You know, I fucking hate evil for the love of evil. You know what I mean? I think that's silly. That's like very Marvel-esque. Like, Skypiea had some issues with that as well. But ultimately, his motivation and the twist for his motivation, the big reveal that they basically hype up, like the true face of Hody revealed, and then it's nothing. He's just empty. He's just bad. And the fucking prince is constantly trying to be like, let's get back to zero. Let's get back to zero. Let's get back to zero. It's like, no, you can't do that. You know what I mean? You can't just get back to zero. Like, I wish they did a better job of like, you know, that, I mean, I guess that's just like liberalism at the end of the day. You know what I mean? His most liberal quality is basically the assessment that like you can heal racial wounds by just like getting back to zero and being like, all right, we love humans now. You have to look at Jinbei and his fallout from Fisher Tiger actions rather than Hody. What did you think of the Fisher Tiger story with Koala? Like, that was good. I loved the Fisher Tiger story. Probably better than the Fishman arc in and of itself. I think it cleared the Fishman arc. Like, this guy is a revolutionary figure. He literally frees, I don't know who Koala is, by the way. He literally frees the Fishman slaves and the human slaves. And at the end of the day, he dies because he still has this same racial hang-up ultimately on the other side, where he refuses to get blood from a human, right? Oh, Koala was the little girl. Okay, yeah, okay, I did see that. Never mind. Like, he saves this little slave girl who's a human and brings her back to the humans, and then the fucking Navy utilizes that as an ambush, which, by the way, happens in the real world with, like, ICE in immigration detention centers, which is crazy to think about, but they kind of do that, literally. Like, ICE will set up these immigration detention centers where, like, family members, immediate family members, if they go and want to get their immediate family member, a child, from this immigration detention center, they'll end up getting apprehended as well. This is something that they used to do in the Trump administration. What happened to Fisher Tiger literally happens in the real world. Anyway, so it's like pure evil. And then his own, despite being a liberator of humans and also fishmen alike being anti-slavery, his own racial hangups at the end of the day causes his demise. And I think it's a very powerful story because you're not supposed to have like, he's not like perfect. You know what I mean? He is perfect in many respects, but he still has like an issue in that regard. Whereas Jinbei sees that, experiences that, is right there when that happens. And then he's the one who's giving blood to Luffy at the end of the arc to save his life in front of everybody at Fishman Island. So then it's like a full circle where, Jinbei ends up learning from Fisher Tiger's mistakes. And it's basically supposed to be like Hody and Arlong versus Jinbei, who gets to carry Fisher Tiger's legacy further. And on the one hand, you have Arlong and Hody, who do not understand Fisher Tiger's legacy at all, versus on the other hand, you have Jinbei, who does understand it. And I think that's basically what it is. Regardless, though, I think that it could have been a little bit more powerfully written and shown. I think, like I said, the Hody's motivations really like upset me almost as far as. But overall, I think there were some weak points and there was really strong points in the plot. Fisher Tiger, incredible character, incredible arc. All of the lore dumps were so good. Like, I found myself looking forward to the next lore dump, whereas all of the other aspects of the show, the incredibly slow pacing, the reaction shots, all of this stuff was unimaginably cruel and slow. The antagonists were weak, and the antagonist motivations were supposed to be matched up with Jinbei. Like, we're supposed to be juxtaposed with Jinbei, but I think that the antagonist could have had a stronger motivation, a better motivation. Like, one of the things that, for example, really frustrated me, that made no sense whatsoever, was when Hody at first decides, what the fuck? Why is the perverted man, the perverted pedophile villain, whatever the fuck his name is? I can't even remember his name. I hate it. Like the weak ass dude with the devil fruit, like the Vander Decken. Yeah, Vander Decken, who is a pedophile. Okay, he gets mad that Vander Decken is trying to dump Noah's Ark on top of Fishman Island, and then he decides, no, actually, it's good to do it. It's good to just dump Noah's Ark on Fishman Island. Now everyone can die because I could just like enslave some other folks. Like, what the fuck? Wait, that makes no sense. That makes no fucking sense. Now you're killing him because he's not following through on your desires, but you also are still going along with his fucking goal. It's just really bad. That part really frustrated me. Anyway, Luffy's powers are great. Everyone's powers are awesome. Love that Chopper finally has control over his Titan strength. That was pretty sick. Elephant Gatling is great. Being able to mix hockey with third gear is pretty cool. Anyway, I like all of that. That stuff is great. Yeah, that's it. That's my take on the matter.